Hey folks, I'm Chris and I'm your Commander Mechanic. All Will Be One is coming, and with it, the Phyrexian invasion of the multiverse. Planeswalkers will be completed, and organic life across all planes is at stake. But for us, this means new pre-constructed decks for Commander, starting with Rebellion Rising, a red and white tokens matter themed deck led by Neyali Sons Vanguard. Neyali is a really cool character design. I love the art and have a thing for characters with big fists for big punchies. As a card though, Neyali is a 3/3 human rebel for 4 mana, granting attacking tokens you control double strike. Additionally, whenever one or more tokens you control attack a player, you get to exile the top card of your library and play that card, meaning you can play lands with it, in any turn you attack with a token. Pretty simple. Neyali doesn't necessarily want to be attacking, but does want you to be turning sideways with tokens. Name a more Boros thing. I'll wait. There are some upsides and downsides to Neyali as a commander. First, Neyali doesn't do anything on their own. If you play your commander on an empty board, you get nothing at all, and that feels pretty bad. Your commander is your only consistent part of your deck, and if you're looking to your commander to gain some sort of ground post-board wipe, Neyali isn't it. Additionally, Neyali doesn't want to be doing anything, not blocking or attacking, as that double strike is only granted to token creatures. Neyali might as well be an enchantment that's more easy to remove, which really isn't a fantastic proposition. What is fantastic is the leg up to advantage you get here. Your tokens are harder to block, do more damage, and generate card advantage for you. I just wish it wasn't tied to attacking. If all of that doesn't sound too appealing, you're in luck, because we have another new legend in the box, Othari, Sun's Glory. This 5 mana 3/3 legendary phoenix has flying, lifelink, and haste. On top of that, when you attack, you get an experience counter. Then create a 2/2 rebel creature tapped and attacking for each experience you have. If that's not good enough, you can pay 4 and tap an untapped rebel you control to return Othari from the graveyard to the battlefield tapped, cheating commander tax. Now this is what I want to see in a commander. Useful on its own, brings its own army with it, and if it gets removed, it's back in play without delay. To me, the biggest benefit is that you can't lose experience counters, meaning every time Othari attacks, you're making more and more bodies along with her. That on its own is really good. But being able to pull her back from the graveyard at instant speed for just 4 mana? Huge bonus. Do this at the end of an opponent's turn to untap and attack again, making Othari incredibly tough to deal with. In case it's not clear, I really favor Othari to Neyali for this precon, and I want to adjust the deck accordingly to focus on this. But these aren't the only new cards in the deck. Let's take a look at some bangers like Clever Concealment, a 4 mana instant with Convoke, meaning we can tap our creatures to help pay for it. It allows us to phase out any number of non-land permanents we control. Nice and simple, but you know how much I love a gotcha spell in Commander. If we're working on going wide in this deck, it's a great way to protect us from a board wipe, but it can also help save us from combat blowouts or targeted removal too. I've got a feeling it'll see a lot of play across a lot of decks. We also have a trio of 4 Mirrodin equipment. 4 Mirrodin is a keyworded ability that's a lot like Living Weapon, oddly enough, except instead of a germ, we're creating a 2/2 red rebel creature and attaching the equipment to it. Not bad if you need bodies. You can essentially count these as creatures in your deck lists. But if you want that equipment on something else right away, you're looking at it being a lot more expensive to shift around. And no token deck will be complete without the new Roar of Resistance, a 2 mana enchantment granting your tokens haste, and whenever 1 or more creatures are attacking, you can pay 1 and a red to give creatures attacking your opponents a big +2/+0 boost until end of turn. This is a great way to turn your opponent's combat steps into blowouts for your other opponents. Surprise, everything's a lot bigger. For reprints in the deck, the big money is in Flawless Maneuver, the first reprint of Ikoria's free to cast if you control your commander cards, and another great gotcha spell, giving your creatures indestructible until end of turn. Otherwise, the deck currently doesn't contain any reprints over $3, so if you're looking for reprint value from this precon, you aren't going to find it here. To upgrade this list, I want to shift it to focusing on Othari Sun's Glory. It's still going to be about going wide, but it's going to focus on doing that with your commander and experience counters rather than just buffing your creatures and making tokens. Since we'll be making multiple creatures per turn with our commander, ideally, we can work with that too to draw us cards, to make creatures bigger, to gain life, and more. First, let's focus on our biggest issue in this color combination, card advantage. We've had some serious advancements in White's card draw lately, so let's use that. We'll cut a deal, since it's not ideal. Along with Dragon Master Outcast, since we aren't ramping lands, and Emeria Angel. Again, we don't have fetches, so this landfall's not exactly doing us a ton of favors. We want to replace them with Welcoming Vampire and Tokasha's Welcome. If we can find room for it in our budgets, hopefully Esper Sentinel too. These cards will help make up the core of our card draw engines, since Welcoming Vampire and Tokasha's Welcome draw us a card when we make tokens. I also really want to cut some of the volume of token makers we have to focus on combat. We're turning our commander sideways and pooping out creatures anyway. We don't need to focus as heavily on making them with spells. So let's cut Increasing Devotion, Heroic Reinforcements, and Mere Battlesphere. These are all relatively expensive token makers that serve almost no other purpose in our deck if we're shifting our commanders. Siege Gang Commander can also go since we don't have a lot of other goblins in the deck, save for Legion War Boss. And even the War Boss can get cut here. Let's focus on buffing our tokens rather than making more. Again, Othari will have token generation pretty well covered. Midnight Haunting can go too. Instant speed 2 flying tokens is okay, but we could also find a few other ways to achieve instant speed token generation. The real money will be in buffing our tokens. Cards that come in the precon like Prava of the Steel Legion, Gold Knight Commander, and Intangible Virtue are really what we want. These make the 2/2s that Othari creates into massive, mean monsters. Along these lines, we can include a few of my favorite anthems in Cathar's Crusade and Infinity's Starlight Spectacular. These all generate massive advantage and help us go a lot wider and taller with our team. And I know I said Landfall wasn't where we wanted to be with the deck in previous cuts, but Felidar Retreat, packing in the deck already, is huge value that can't be beat even if we're just playing a single land per turn. Huge buffs to your army, and able to get you back on your feet from an empty board. I would like to improve the removal package a bit here too. Path to Exile is in the list along with Generous Gift and Rip Apart. All excellent options. But I'd also like to include some of the best in targeted removal we can get in these colors, Swords to Plowshares and Wear and Tear. This brings our targeted removal package up to some of the best available out of any color combination. The precon comes with 3 board wipes inside it, Martial Coup, Chain Reaction, and Hour of Reckoning. I think all 3 are pretty solid in this list, no question. But Chain Reaction can easily be swapped to Blasphemous Act in a lot of situations for a 1 mana board wipe. Either option is fine, but my personal preference is for the Act. Vanquish the Horde easily fits here too. Just be careful not to overdo it with the board wipes, as your creature base too. That can cause all sorts of issues. The base list is also very equipment heavy, which I don't feel is a bad thing. Othari has Flying, Haste, and Lifelink, meaning it's a great body to buff with these equipments. From Mace of the Valiant to Maul of the Skyclays to Mask of Memory, these all do things we want them to do, so they all stay. Loxodon Warhammer may not be best served in the list unless we want more evasion and more lifelink, but in that case we could also upgrade to Shadow Spear, though that's definitely the pricier option. And believe it or not, I wouldn't make any changes to the mana base either. I'd remove Path to Ancestry since Othari is the only Phoenix, and Temple of the False God and Myriad Landscape because they're both bad cards. For now, let's replace them with one of each basic land, but they could also be Spectator Seating or Sacred Foundry if you want to put a few more bucks into the upgrade. The ramp in the list is really solid too. With 7 mana rocks in the deck, it's actually where we want it to be, especially with the high quality rocks like Felwar Stone, Mind Stone, and both Signet and Talisman. So, what are we adding in? We have Elspeth Tyrell in the deck, so why not Elspeth Sun's Champion? She generates more tokens and is a tactical board wipe if we aren't going tall yet. The emblem is all sorts of kick-ass for our strategy too. Speaking of buffing tokens, the background Inspiring Leader fits right in here. With Othari out, it means we're making 4/4 tapped and attacking creatures. That's way too good to pass up. And if we want to make 4/4s, why not turn everything into 4/4 flyers with Divine Visitation? Sure, rebels are cool, but how about if those rebels were angels instead? That can get pretty big and wild fast. We can turn our attacking creatures into more attacking creatures with rabble rousing too. For each creature we attack with, we make another creature, resulting in a self-doubling army. The tokens that come in tapped and attacking don't make any more tokens, but everything else attacking does. The bonuses will also eventually get a free spell too. And if we want to win without having to turn everything sideways always, or if a pesky Elish Norn is preventing your tokens from surviving, we can use the Enters the Battlefield triggers to take our opponents out. Impact Tremors and Perforos God of the Forge are great ways to ensure, even if they aren't connecting, our tokens get to make an impact. I've filled the rest of the list with a few ways to proliferate, like Karn's Bastion and Grateful Apparition and Throne of Geth. After all, proliferating our experience counters just means more and more new creatures each combat, while also having the benefit of giving us a few extra +1/+1 counters once in a while. For pricier upgrades, it's really easy to look at token doublers, Anointed Procession and the new Mondrak Glory Dominus. These really ratchet up what Othari is doing, helping you go twice as wide, but they are going to set you back a pretty penny. We could also go with extra combat spells in red. Othari triggers on attack, so attacking more is good, right? Seize the Day, Aki Battle Squad, and Relentless Assault all make sense if this is the angle you want to go with. Let me know what you think of the out-of-the-box Precon as well as these upgrades, and what direction you're planning on taking this deck. Be sure to check out my deck list in the description too. It's linked over to my sponsor Moxfield, the best deck building platform in the world, where you can see stock lists, updates, and upgrades. Be sure to check out the history feature to see what changes I've made specifically. Thanks for watching, folks, and as always, good luck and have fun.